The production came about because I went on a podcast show and sort of became friends with some of the hosts. Rebecca Reynolds had mentioned that she and her husband were thinking about producing some spanking content and wanted some tips, and I was like, well, I need a cameraman, so if he wants to come and learn from me, then I can teach him how to shoot. And after doing a couple shoots, then he mentioned that his wife wanted to come and do some stuff, so we shot what ended up being the first 2 scenes of the movie. And then after that, I knew that we had something, and so I made it into a whole feature. And we shot over, I think it was 3 or 4 different days. Shot like a couple scenes at a time, so that I could review them and build onto it from there. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I haven't done a feature in quite a while, so.
Do you prefer doming or subbing on camera?
I prefer doming by 1,000,000,000%. I don't know, when I sub on camera for my own productions, it's not nearly as much fun because I'm having to control so many aspects while also trying to perform and being tortured and, being tied up and gagged, and nobody knows what I'm saying, and it's really super frustrating. I'd much rather have somebody else be uncomfortable, knowing things are going to be difficult and stressful. When I sub in other people's productions, I actually enjoy it more because I can just concentrate on the submissive performance versus having to deal with all the technical stuff.
How about in your real life? Do you prefer subbing or doming in your real life?
In my real life, I'm kind of a switch. Like, I don't think I'm totally submissive at all because I hate being told what to do, and I'm way too aggressive to be considered submissive. But I don't want to have to do all the work all the time either, because that gets super old. So I'm actually a fan of traditional gender roles, which I'm sure with me being a pro-dom sounds weird to most people, but that's what I prefer.
Do you worry about sub roles harming your street cred as a dom?
Yeah, I don't. A lot of doms won't do sub work on camera because they think that it can somehow hurt their business, and a lot of my clients love that I've done sub work because they know that I know what it feels like, when I do something to them. I've been there, I have the experience, and I'm not just following some, rules in a handbook. Like, I know what this, I'm connected to it in a way that somebody else isn't going to be. So if anything, it helps.
I'm going to add my own question. How is it for you? I know you kind of touched on the directing from a dominant from a submissive state on camera, but how does that work in your head? Because you did a really good job at getting into character and then snapping back out of it and
yell at people
directing.
And tell them what to do.
So,
I've been doing it for a long time. Because I also edit my own stuff, I know what I need and what I want. So I know what I need to give in order to get what I want. And I think I push myself harder when I'm this submissive because I don't want my performances to suck. More than anybody's, especially because I'm a dom. If my performances aren't as good as what I dish out, I think it makes them weaker than it would somebody else's because, I have this character that's up here, so when I'm playing this other role, it needs to be just as intense, if not more intense, for it to be something that I'd be proud to put my name on.
What was your favorite scene and why?
My favorite scene, it's so hard to say. I don't know, I guess I probably liked the foot scenes, but for a really weird reason, because that's something I've never really, I'm in Defeat, I like foot worship, but there was nothing sensual or sexy about the scene from my standpoint, because it was pretty brutal. What I liked about it is I do stuff like that to people all the time. Nobody ever does that to me. So, even though I wrote it, it was kind of cool to see what that feels like, something that I do on such a regular basis, having never experienced it. So that was cool. Like, I don't need to ever do that again, but I liked knowing what it was like to be there.
What was your least favorite scene and why?
Caning used to be something that I really enjoyed as a bottom, and I can safely say that. That's another thing. I don't think I need to do that again ever. In some ways that scene was also like one of my favorites because it's probably one of the hardest spankings I've taken in, definitely in a long time, maybe, and certainly ever for my own production. So I'm glad I had that for my movie because all my intense, really super intense spankings and corporal scenes even for other people. But yeah, that scene was brutal, and the marks weren't coming up. So, you know, I'd have, like, you know, they'd take a picture of it and show me what my ass looked like, and I'm like, I don't understand how it's, like, it's barely red. And so I'm like, okay, we need to keep going. And we had, you know, I had to keep pushing to keep going so that I could get the marks to come up. And they still didn't really come up. And later that night, I took a picture and I posted it on Twitter, and they were starting to come up. But, like, the next day I was black and blue. I was black and blue for about a week. And it's so frustrating. Yeah, so this is the long answer to the question is, that's my least favorite because I suffered a lot. And it doesn't fucking look like it. Like, when you look at it, it's just like, oh, what is she making all this noise for? Her ass is barely red. But it was black and blue the next day. I want y'all to know.
You recently joined the Naughty Bits radio cast. How did that happen, and how's it going?
Well, I was a part of another radio show, and I wasn't really happy with the direction that the show was going in. I didn't like that I was being scripted, and I thought that the overall tone was really demeaning towards women. And I was talking to Heather Height about it. Because even though I had these thoughts about it, I wasn't sure, like, if leaving was the right thing. And, you know, she invited me to come on their show, which I had been on before as a guest. And, you know, she had me join as a host. We just finished the second taping, and so far it's been really fun. I like that, you know, there's 3 people, that there's a man involved. It's not just a bunch of chicks cackling and, you know, sticking things in their vagina for free, you know. It's like in an intelligent show, we talk about things in the news, we talk about sexuality. It's not just, you know, it's not a bimbo show, you know. I mean, we talk about sex, but we do it in an intelligent manner. And there's no, like, oh yeah, and how do we get you off? I mean, there's none of that stuff that I just really detest and don't think is a positive representation of women in the sex industry at all. And it's not something I want to facilitate. So yeah, so far I'm happy, and I like it, and hopefully it will continue.
Where can we find more Julie Simone?
Got a bunch of sites. I've got Julie Simone paddles. I have my own line of oak paddles now. JulieSimone.com, Julie's Bitch Boys, POV Doms, Foot Fetish Sluts, Smoking TV, and I'll soon be launching sort of like a banner site where you can find all things with me as a dominant at MistressJulieSimone.com.